What is up, Not So Pro Football Talk? This is another episode here of the Power Rankings. This is week 8. We're going to get it going straight out of the way. I'm going to go ahead and say the grading criteria like I do every week. I'm going to pull it up right here. So offensive grades, it's going to be points scored, offensive efficiency, strength of defensive matchup. Saw that mistake that I had the last 2 weeks. So it is defensive matchup, not so much offensive matchup for offensive grading. On the other side, it's going to be points allowed, defensive efficiency, and strength of offensive matchup for the defensive grading. So now that that's out of the way, let's get right into number 32. I'm going to have the Las Vegas Raiders. I mean, in my opinion, I had them at 31 last week, as you can see there in the visual, but going down to 32 after the tough loss to the Rams. And I mean, the Rams are depleted as well. So again, they could have stayed at 31. I just thought they were the worst team this week. Offensively, can't really get too much going. Madison looks good, but O'Connell fractured his hand. So again, he's going to be out for a few weeks. I think they said 4 to 6 weeks is his timetable. Doesn't look good for the Raiders. Next week, they do have a tough matchup against the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't see them winning this. I think they are most likely going to stay somewhere in the bottom 3 here. Even if they move up, the only way they can move up, of course, is if they get the miraculous win against the 6-0 Kansas City Chiefs, or if they have a good game against them, and maybe I think they were better than another team. But as of now, it's going to be a tough week for them. Sorry, Raiders fans, if you are out there somewhere, I don't know if I can see you, but you're somewhere out there, I guess. And this week is not looking good for you. Alrighty, so here at 31, as you can see with this visual coming up, I have the New England Patriots. So Patriots are moving down for me. They did have a tough loss in against the Jaguars in London, so I guess you can say the London Jags. But 16 to 32 was not what I was expecting from Drake May. I thought he was going to get more touchdowns. I thought he was going to have that offense rolling a bit, but it just didn't end up happening that way. So I'll give him some grace. He is a rookie. It's only his second game. The Patriots are really not a good team, in my opinion. Next week's going to be a tough matchup. I think it could be a good defensive game with both these offenses, still trying to figure out who they are. It's going to be the Patriots versus the Jets here. It's going to be, I guess you could say, a good one. Sunday, 12 o'clock game. It's going to be all right. But Drake May just has to be playing on all cylinders again. Hopefully, Stevenson can add to that team. But as of now, the Patriots, I don't know how it's going to go. You guys might be moving down as well, if it's even possible. Alrighty, here at 30, I'm going to have the Carolina Panthers. They were at 28 for me last week, but with another loss here against the Commanders, expected, but 7 to 40, I expected the Panthers to put up a little bit more points on this, I guess you can say, weak Commanders defense, but they just couldn't. Dalton couldn't get anything going. I mean, he had a little bit of an injury scare, I believe, and that's why Bryce Young came in. But does this give the avenue for Bryce Young to retake his starting position? I don't know. I don't know if just 3-4 weeks without Bryce being the starter is going to be the answer for him. Still thinks he needs time. I think he still needs time to develop. But we'll go ahead and see what the Panthers organization is going to do, what Dave Canales is going to do. But for now, Panthers are going to keep trending down. This next week against the Broncos, I don't think it's going to be a favorable matchup for them. It is what it is. I think the Broncos will win this game outright. But the Carolina Panthers have, given us a shocker here too with their offense under Andy Dalton. We'll see what happens. But right now, Carolina, you guys sit at 30. So here at 29, I'm going to have the Cleveland Browns. I mean, this past week was not so much a bad game for them. I don't know if it was them actually getting some good quality points because Chubb is back. And of course, we know what happened to Deshaun Watson. For those of you fans who booed him, anybody, even if you're a Cleveland fan or another person, we do not on this channel invite injuries. We do not clap for injuries. We do not wish injuries upon anybody. But am I mad that Watson is now out of the starting lineup? No, I'm not mad at that, but I would not have wanted him to get hurt. I wanted him to get benched just because of poor play, not because of a serious injury that could affect his life long term, Anyways, off of that, Jameis Winston's going to be the starter. this is going to be great. After the loss here to the Cincinnati Bengals, 14-21, next week they have the Baltimore Ravens. It's not looking good. I still think this is going to be a week where they could trend up if Jameis Winston and Nick Chubb can actually put some good quality points. But as of now, I do think 100% this is going to be a loss. By how much, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Right now, my biggest story and biggest benefits for the Browns is that Jameis Winston and Nick Chubb are under the helm, right behind center. I think this duo is going to be great. I don't know how great in the area of giving the Cleveland Browns more wins, but I think it'll be better for the direction for Cleveland fans and Cleveland's organization. Alrighty, guys, here at 28, I'm sorry, Rave. They are moving down for me after that loss. Titans are here at 28 for me. They lost to the Bills like expected, 10-34. Not their best game. But then again, I mean, it happens. The Titans were not expected to be a great team, in my opinion. I did not have them being a great team, and Rave obviously had some high hopes with the defense. But it seems like that defense is going to get a little bit worse. They just had a trade with the Seattle Seahawks. I mean, they had some Seahawks players. They cut Devontae Adams. Now they're trading somebody to the Seahawks. And that's going to be Ernest Jones the fourth for Jerome Baker and a fourth-round pick. So Seahawks are getting an upgrade, I guess you could say, at the linebacker position. And the Titans are getting a pick that they could use to increase their skill level on this team in the next draft, as well as getting Jerome Baker, who is not a bad linebacker, but again, just has not fit our system like we want him to. A lot of missed tackles, a lot of missed assignments. It happens. Now we're trying to move on to be better. Titans as well. They do have the Lions this next week. So again, it's not looking pretty. Their schedule is pretty tough. And I'm sorry, Rave, but the Titans are just going to keep losing at least for one more week. So Titans fans, hold on. You're getting some more picks here and there. It's looking forward for you guys. Also, I almost forgot, DeAndre Hopkins just got traded to the Kansas City Chiefs. That's another pick that could be high quality. So just throwing that in there. Titans fans, hold on. The future is hopefully good for you guys. Next up at 27, I'm going to have the Jacksonville Jaguars here. They had a good win against the Patriots, 32-16 in London. The London Jags, man. I mean, Trevor Lawrence looked a lot better this game. ETN and Bixby were, looking a lot better as well. Bixby just got me a lot of points, and I love that for the London game. But hopefully, yeah, they can give this duo a little bit more respect on giving Bixby more runs and ETN not so many runs, just pass catching. But we'll have to wait and see. They do go up against the Green Bay Packers here in week 8. It's going to be a tough loss for them, in my opinion. I don't see the Jacksonville Jaguars getting this win. I know Reed told me that, the Packers don't play good in Florida, but I don't think they play bad enough to where the Jaguars win. Maybe it's a closer game than I'm anticipating, but I think the Packers are going to come out with a dub here. Jaguars, after trending up, might be trending down or staying in the same spot, depending on how they play against the Packers here. At 26 here, I'm going to have the New York Giants. Not because I think that they played better this week against these past teams that I just talked about, but because the Giants have the opportunity to be a decent team. Not, top 16 team, not top 20 team, but, maybe even getting into that range of 20 to 25, just because they have Malik Neighbors, they have Singletary, they have Tyrone Tracy. I'm not going to say Daniel Jones because Daniel Jones is not it. But at this point in time, I think the Giants could sneak in a couple of wins before the season is over. Of course, that's if they want to. But I'm not going to say that they're going to tank or anything. But again, I think there is something going on there that they are not getting everything going as they would want. Again, is that coaching? Is that players? We'll have to wait and see. Right now, the Giants, they did lose 3-28 to the Philadelphia Eagles. And next week, they will have the tough Pittsburgh Steelers defense to go against. I don't think New York is going to win this game. I do think with Russell Wilson there in Pittsburgh now under the helm, it looks forward for Najee Harris and, of course, George Pickens. But right now, New York just needs to get something going. They need some momentum going into the next few games. Malik Neighbors needs to get more touches. I know he just got back from an injury. Yeah, you guys are limiting him and how many times he's going to get hit, but he's your best guy. You have to see what you have. You have to spread the ball around fairly well, but Malik Neighbors needs to be the epicenter of that offense. So, New York, you got to get stuff going. Now's the time. Use what you got. And of course, if you're still losing, you get a better pick. So here at 25, I'm going to have the Miami Dolphins. Even after a loss, I still have them moving up because I think this team is looking a lot better. Not so much offensive wise, but defensive wise, they are holding some of these teams to, low points. So they lost to the Colts 10-16. They dropped down to 2-4. It happens without Tua. I think Tua is most likely going to come back this week, and it should benefit them. They have the Arizona Cardinals at home. I think this is a very likely game that they could win. Arizona doesn't have the toughest defense. They don't have the toughest offense at this point in time, but they do get some sneaky wins here and there on some good teams. So if Miami can get everything going in this week one, basically for Tua again, uh, after the concussion is scary. I hope that he's out there and playing up to what he wants to be playing at, but I hope he's also safe because, again, you don't wish injuries upon anybody, especially Tua, who's a guy that's very compassionate, very humble. He just wants to play football. But right now, his body is not allowing him to do that. So hopefully he comes out, balls out for Tyreek Hill and Waddle's sake, as well as HN, because that entire offense has just been abysmal ever since he's been gone. So for fantasy purposes, hopefully Tua comes back great, and they can put up some good points against the Arizona Cardinals. All right, here at 24, I'm going to have the Dallas Cowboys moving down, even though it was their bye week. I think there was just some teams that have played better than them and are going to have a better outcome in this next week. This is week 8 of the power rankings, so I factor in what happened in week 7 and where I think these teams will fall in week 8. So the Cowboys here, bye week, not too bad. They didn't get an L. That's the good thing on your bye week. You don't lose, or do you? Going into this next week, though, after the bye week and getting refreshed, maybe getting something going, they are going to face the San Francisco 49ers at San Francisco. I mean, it's going to be a tough game unless they can get something going with CD and Dak, which I desperately hope they do, because for fantasy purposes, CD has not been living up to what he did last year. Dak has not been living up to what he did last year. Hopefully, the running game will be a little bit better with Elliott and Dowdle. If not, I don't think this team is going to do very much against the San Francisco defense, even though it is banged up, and the offense for the San Francisco 49ers is banged up as well. But right now, Cowboys just need something, some momentum to go into this next part of the season. Sitting at 3-3, exactly 500. They go below 500. I think a lot of fans, including Jerry Jones and himself as the owner and GM, are going to be very mad. This is not the season they expected. At 23 here, I'm gonna have the Los Angeles Rams. Before I get to their game that they had in week 7, there is so many trade rumors about this team right now. Of course, Matthew Stafford is linked with the Vikings at this point in time somehow. I've seen so much stuff on Twitter. Don't know if it's actually true, so I'm not going to say it on here. But there are rumors. Of course, Cup as well. There are rumors about him. His rumors were supposed to be him going to the Kansas City Chiefs, but Kansas City got D-Hop. So is Cup still a trade partner for anybody in the league, or is Kansas City still going to possibly go after him? We don't know. But as of right now, I think Cup is staying there with the Rams in LA. Stafford is up in the air, though, so that's such some big news there. But week 7, they took the dub over Las Vegas, only 20-15. So that's why I only have them moving up 1 here. It was a decent win without a lot of their stars in there. Kyron Williams is still doing Kyron Williams things. Stafford is still struggling to get pretty much anybody the ball besides Tutu Atwell. But with this trade rumors going on, I don't know if this is going to benefit the Rams going into this next week. They do have the Vikings themselves, so it's going to be pretty weird. If you're in trade talks with a team that you're coming up to play against, it is kind of weird just because you want that guy that you're playing against. Your defense is going to go after that guy. So it doesn't really make sense. That's why Twitter is always not very reliable. But this week. I think it's going to be a dub for the Minnesota Vikings. It's going to be a loss for the Los Angeles Rams, but hopefully Cup coming back and Puka right around the corner to come back, most likely week 9 or week 10 at the latest. Hopefully they can get some momentum for fantasy purposes, but we'll have to wait and see what those trades entail. All right, here at number 22, you would expect me to drop this team a lot more just because, me and Dizzle are at odds there. But it's all for fun. I'm going to have the New York Jets here at 22, only dropping one spot after the horrible loss to the Steelers 15-37. I think this was just a tandem of the Jets not having their offensive system like they want to. Defense, of course, can only do so much. And the Steelers just having a quality game with Russell Wilson coming back from injury, playing his first game as a Steeler. So it is great to see Russ doing well, but also it kind of is bad that the Jets are just doing this horrible. 2-5 at this point in time, going into week 8, is not what they were expecting. Next week, they have the Patriots, so it should be a game that they could possibly win. Again, I'm not even guaranteeing this because the Patriots could stun them with Drake May and company. But right now, Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams, Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, they all need to have a stellar game in order to solidify this win. This is going to get them some momentum going into the next few weeks because they really need it, especially with some of these divisional games looming in the second half of their season. I think the Jets need to get something going now. If not, this season is a wrap, in my opinion, because their division has some tough opponents. Alrighty, here at 21, I'm going to have the New Orleans Saints. I mean, this whole team is just banged up. We knew that they were going to lose this game against Denver. They lost 10-33. Bummer. Everybody didn't really get any points on the Saints. So if you had anybody, including Kamara, like myself, in 4 leagues out of 5, he did not get me the points I wanted. I believe it was only like 8.2 or 8.4. It is what it is. I think going forward, though, the Saints need to utilize Kamara as much as they can. Passing game, running game. Put him out in the slot. I don't care. He's one of your best guys. Hopefully, Hill can come back and be that Swiss Army knife that you need at this point in time. But as of now, it's just tough on the Saints. They have too many injuries on both sides of the ball. I mean, when half of your roster or more than half of your roster is either on IR or injury week to week, it's not going to be good for you. So going up against the Chargers this next week, I don't see it being a good game for them as well. Chargers defense is pretty good, and it is improving week to week under Harbaugh. So I think this is going to be a loss for the Saints. They've been trending down the past 3 weeks. I think they're going to continue to trend down this week unless they put up a good game against the Chargers or even possibly a miraculous win. But we'll have to wait and see. As of right now, New Orleans got to get something going to Kamara. And here, sitting at 20, right on top of the team that I just announced, I think I'm going to have the Chargers winning this game most likely. I'm going to have them sitting at 20 with the possibility of moving up after week 8. I just think they have a better roster at this point in time, healthier guys, a better run game, better defense, better quarterback at this point in time as well. So Chargers right now, their last game was against the Cardinals, 15-17. It was not a good loss, but it is what it is. The Cardinals are getting sneaky wins on a lot of teams, so that's why I had them moving down to 20 here. I think they will move up after this week as long as they can get a quality win against the New Orleans Saints. Right now, Uncle Disley, my guy, he used to be our old secondary tight end. Uncle Disley, love that guy. He had a phenomenal game. I believe it was 8 catches for 81 yards on 11 targets. I think if the Chargers can continue to do this and get everybody else involved in that offense, I think they can put up some good numbers against the Saints here. We'll have to wait and see with them. Again, that offense is just trying their best to keep up with the rest of the league. And right now, they just need some more help in this next draft. All right, here cracking into the top 20 teams, I'm going to have the Indianapolis Colts sitting at 19. They did get a decent win, of course, against the Dolphins here, 16-10. Again, Anthony Richardson is just not the guy right now in the passing game. He's not even the guy in the rushing game. I mean, fantasy purposes for him are just so low. For those of you that drafted him pretty high within that 4th, 5th round, it's not looking good for you to have wasted that pick on him. I know I did it in one league just to try it out. But in that league, right now, I'm sitting at 5-2 because I took him out instantly after I saw him do horrible that one week. I believe it was week 2. But next week, they're going to go ahead and go up against the tough Texans team. I think this is going to be a loss for Indy. They are sitting at 4-3 right now. Houston is sitting at 5-2. I think Houston has the better team at this point in time. I think offensively they can get more points. I think defensively they're going to be able to stop the Colts more often than not, especially with the way Anthony Richardson is playing. Now, is this the time to sit Anthony Richardson or do you keep him in? Joe Flacco has shown that he's been great for this team this season, but he's not the long term option. I think you stick with Anthony Richardson, you go through the woes. Hopefully, he can stay healthy. Hopefully, he can continue to learn to play against these NFL teams. But as of now, Colts are sitting at 19. I think they're going to be trending down after week 8. Alrighty, so here at 18, I'm going to go ahead and have the Arizona Cardinals. They did get the law or the win here against the Chargers. I mean, back-to-back teams on everybody facing each other, but the Arizona Cardinals got the slim win against the Chargers here, 17-15. It wasn't the best win. I mean, maybe Kyler's doing better, but again, Marvin Harrison, where are you, man? We're expecting a lot more points from you. I know that you just came back from injury, but we want you to be a little bit more integrated into the system. We don't just want Trey McBride to be the entire offense. I mean, I'm not complaining in some of my leagues. I think in 3 leagues out of 5, I have Trey McBride. The Cardinals are going to go up against the Miami Dolphins. Tua might be back this week, so it's not looking good for them. I think it's going to be a tough game for them to win. If Tua does not end up playing, I think this is a way easier win for them. But we'll have to wait and see. Arizona, you need to get that offense churning a little bit more because you cannot rely on your defense. And here, sitting at 17 for me, I'm going to have the Philadelphia Eagles. Yes, again, they still are rated higher than the Cowboys here at this point in time. I mean, this win against the Giants, I believe their first divisional matchup this year. 28-3. It was a good win. It was a win that they needed in order to solidify themselves as, a contender in their division. So beating the Doonies out of them, 28-3, the Giants there, is some benefit for them. Their offense is starting to get a little bit going. A.J. Brown is back in the system. Saquon Barkley is now in the system, and he had a good game against his former team. Almost a career high in rushing yards. It should have been, but he let the young guys feast. I love that about Saquon. But this week, it's going to be a much tougher matchup. Not offensively because they're going to go against the weak Bengals defense, but it's going to be a defensive test for them. Defense has been looking decently solid with the additions that they had in this draft, especially Cooper DeJean. I just wanted to throw it out there, but the Eagles are going to have a tough time against Cincy, holding that offense to minimum points, but we'll have to go ahead and see. I think this is one of the games, in my opinion, this week that is a toss-up. It's going to be, is A.J. Brown better? Is Jamar Chase and Higgins better? Or does Devontae Smith actually show up in this game and help out A.J. Brown? We'll have to see. I think the Eagles have the better roster here at this point in time, but I believe that the Bengals have the better quarterback and head coach. Alrighty, guys. So at 16 here, I'm going to have the Denver Broncos. I mean, they played a decent game this week. Again, they played up against a banged-up New Orleans team. It wasn't something to rave home about. They won 33-10, so I will say that they're finally getting a lot of points up on the board. The defense is playing great. But, it wasn't the best matchup to go against to say, hey, this is why you moved up 3 spots. You should have moved up more possibly, but I'm just going to keep it at 3 here for them. Next week, they go against the Carolina Panthers. I think it's another easy matchup to where if they do move up, it won't be more than 3 spots. Again, the only reason is because of that is because some other teams at these positions lost or moved up as well. So really, if I could have, I would have put the Denver Broncos where they were at before. But for now, I'm going to have them here at 16. I think they are a good team. I think week to week, they're going to be somebody to watch out for. Alrighty, so here at 15, this one might be a surprise to people, but I'm going to have the Cincinnati Bengals here moving down 2 spots from last week. They were at 13, and they got the dub against the Browns, 21-14. But in my opinion, I think the Bengals should have won by a lot more. That's why I am okay with them trending down here. It's the Browns. Deshaun Watson was playing horribly. I know Jameis Winston came and in the last quarter with like the last 2-3 minutes or so scored a touchdown. So really it was 21-7. But the Bengals also scored a fourth down touchdown too. So how much was it really a big factor that they only won by 7? Anyways, next week they're going to go against the Eagles. I think that's a much tougher matchup than the Cleveland Browns, but it could also be a pretty easy matchup. But like I said in previous videos, the Bengals play up or down to their competition. So at this point in time, this one's another toss up for me. Like I said earlier in this video when I was going over the Philadelphia Eagles, I think that this game is just could go either way. Eagles play up and down to the competition. Bengals also do the same thing. I don't think this is a runaway game for anybody in any retrospect here, but it's going to be pretty hard for the Bengals to win outright. The defense of the Eagles is playing well, but the Bengals offense is playing well as well. So we'll see what happens in this game. But for now, Bengals sitting at 15. At 14 here, I'm going to have my own Seattle Seahawks right there behind my arm. Uh, Basically, my Seahawks played a good game against Atlanta. I thought this game was going to be a lot closer, in my opinion. Thought Kirk Cousins, Drake London, Bijan Robinson were going to just have the best games of their careers like they usually do against the Seahawks every time they play them. But it ended up being an easy dub for us. I mean, we took the dub 34-14. I'll take that every day of the week. If we could win by that much every single week, I'm totally down for it. But Seahawks just played well with Byron Murphy finally back and healthy. Really love to see it. But we're 4-0 with him. So as long as he's healthy, I think we have a good chance of winning each game that we play. This week, he's healthy against the Bills. We got the Bills next. Of course, DK Metcalf is injured. Sad, but I think we'll be all fine, be all right with Tyler Lockett, JSN, and most likely Bobo is going to be getting a lot more playing time. So always love when I can get Jake Bobo into the game. I love to see him get some receptions, play well, because he's basically like another DK Metcalf, but just smaller. So I think this is going to be a good week for us. Hopefully we end up trending up instead of down. The Bills are a tough team to beat. But as of right now, I have confidence. I think we can go into this week and get out going 5-3. Alrighty, here at 13, I'm going to go ahead and have the team that was on a bye, the Chicago Bears. Yes, they are another team moving down for me because of bye. But again, when you're not playing, you really have no control where you move up or down. I'm not going to keep you at the same spot just because you had a bye. If other teams are playing well, that gives them some benefit going into this next week, into week 8. So as of right now, Bears after the bye are at 13. Later this week, they have a tough matchup, but what benefits them is that the Washington Commanders do not have Jaden Daniels. They're going to have Marcus Mariota. So again, another mobile quarterback. The Bears are going to pretty much keep the game plan the same, except Mariota. They've seen more tape on him than they have with Jaden Daniels. I think Jaden Daniels is the better quarterback, and that's why he is the starter. But it is very doubtful for him to play this game. So the Bears lucked out there. They have a good chance of winning this game. I really want to go with the Washington Commanders on the spread here, but we'll have to see. It's going to be a game time decision for me as this one is Sunday at 3:25. We'll see who's healthy. We'll see who's not. We'll see what the media says, everything like that. But ultimately, I think the Chicago Bears have a 50-50 chance of winning or losing this game. It's totally up to how Caleb Williams and company play. If DeAndre Swift can keep doing what he's doing, I think the Bears have a high chance of running the ball very, very well, and that will end up getting them the dub. Alrighty, guys. So at number 12, I'm going to go ahead and go with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I have them at 12 just because I really feel bad for this team right now. They just lost so many people in this game. I mean, not like a plethora in like number wise, but a plethora in like the talent. Godwin is out, Evans is out. I mean, that's their entire team basically. Now it's just relying on Kate Otten. I mean, Baker Mayfield is going to throw two guys who have been getting like less than 20% of the snap share the entire season. McMillan is there, et cetera, whoever else is going to be behind them, basically. But At this point in time, this was just a tough loss in my opinion. Baltimore Ravens won 41-31. It happens. Really, I don't think there was a chance that they would win this game. I believe at one point in time right before Mike Godwin got hurt, I mean, it was what I believe 24-41. So the chances of winning were very slim, but yet they still had their guys out there. And of course, we saw how it ended up. Um, Next week, though, they are going against the Atlanta Falcons. The Seahawks just pummeled on the Falcons. This one again is in Tampa Bay. So hopefully Tampa Bay can go out and be competitive. They're going to have to really rely on Rashad White as well as Bucky Irving. But in my opinion, this is not looking good for them. Sterling Shepard is going to be their basically second string guy, second wide receiver for this game. It just really doesn't look good. So as of right now, I'm going to have the Tampa Bay Bucks here sitting at number 12. It's going to be a tough game against Atlanta, but I think they can be competitive. Do I think they win? Probably not. I think it's going to be a game to really get themselves back on their feet in any capacity that they can. And hopefully Mike Evans comes back sooner rather than later. All right, at number 11 here, right outside the top 10, I'm going to have the San Francisco 49ers. They did take the loss this game to Kansas City, so you really can't blame them. Kansas City is 6-0 for a reason. But the 49ers did not play their best game. A lot of injuries for them as well. Debo didn't even end up getting on the field past the before game warmups, the pregame warmups. So basically, they were just running with Kittle, and Jennings was out as well. Ayuk was out there for less than 50% of the snaps because of his ACL injury. Full tear is what I've heard. Hasn't been like officially official with exactly what it was, but he's already had his surgery, I believe. So he's going to be out for the season. But I mean, the 49ers, they lost to the Kansas City Chiefs. I really can't blame it. It happens. I didn't expect them to win. I expected them to keep it closer than they did. But I think going into next week against the Dallas Cowboys, they have a better chance of resurging and getting back to 500, going 4-4 after this week. It's in San Francisco, so the Cowboys are at a disadvantage here. I think San Francisco should win. Whoever's going to be there, if it's Jennings, if he's healthy, if it's Kittle, if he's healthy. If not, they're going to go ahead and run with Ricky Pearsall and Jacob Cowing. So it's not the best receiver core that you want. I'm pretty sure Ronnie Bell will get in there if Juwan Jennings is not, playing. And I know for AJ, at least, he does not want Ronnie Bell in there a lot. But we'll see how the 49ers, adjust here. Maybe they move some guys up from the practice squad, give those guys a chance. But at this point in time, the 49ers just need to get healthy. McCaffrey is not set to come back until after their week 9 bye. Of course, right before it's either going to be against Tampa Bay or it's going to be again when the Seattle Seahawks come to town. So we'll see what happens. But right now, the San Francisco 49ers look like they should get this win against the Cowboys. But with the depletion of their wide receivers and, of course, just having Jordan Mason and Kyle Juszczyk to be those top running back, fullback type guys, it's going to be tough for them to win. It might make them a little bit one-more dimensional. They have Juwan Jennings. I think this game is not so much out of hand. So at number 10 here, I'm going to have the Houston Texans. They barely lost here to the Packers. I believe it was 22-24. The Texans are still 5-2, so that's why I have them so high here. I do not believe that stat-wise or what they've shown me that makes them a top 10 team. But at this point in time, they are playing some decent football that can win them games. I still think at this point in time, they need to show me more in order to be inside the top 10 and deserving of this top 10. Right now, it's mostly their record. Yes, they're a good team. Yes, defensively, they're getting better. Offensively, going through a little bit of some woes here and there. But this next week should be an easier week for them to show why they are hopefully a top 10 team this year. They're going to go against Indianapolis Colts. So this one should be a dub. I know it's going to be hard rivalry, everything like that, blah, 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 blah. But Anthony Richardson is just not playing up to par, in my opinion, to beat the Houston Texans. The Houston Texans would have to have a total meltdown in order to lose to the Colts at this point in time. So I think this game is pretty wrapped up, nice and pretty. Texans should go out there pretty healthy right now. I believe Nico Collins is just 1 or 2 more weeks out from playing off of the IR spot there. So Texans get a few more wins. Nico Collins comes back. I think then they are deserving of being a top 10 team if they can keep up their record. Next, I'm going to have at number 9 the Atlanta Falcons. They just lost a horrible, horrible game to the Seahawks, but I think it was just Seahawks having a great week. Atlanta is still a great team. They really don't have too many injuries. Again, when you just go and play against the Seattle Seahawks, most of the time we're going to have something on the tip of our shoulders there. So right now, the Atlanta Falcons should not worry. It was a loss 34-14, but I think next week when they go up against the Buccaneers, they have a better chance of winning now with all the injuries that the Buccaneers have just received. Sadly, this game should have been a very, very good game at the 12 o'clock slate on Sunday, but now it's looking like it's going to be maybe one-sided or just, for lack of a better term, a cripple fight if the Falcons can't play up to their standards. So I think the Atlanta Falcons will be fine. I still think they are a top 10 team with that offense. The defense is, getting better, except against the run, of course. But there's still a lot this team needs to do in order to keep themselves in the top 10. If they go out here and lose against the Buccaneers after they just lost so much, I think the Atlanta Falcons are going to drop very huge for me. So we'll see what happens. At number 8, I'm going to have the Pittsburgh Steelers. This team with Russell Wilson or Justin Fields is a team to reckon with. That defense really gives them very many opportunities to go ahead and win the game, just like they did this past week against the Jets. 37-15 was the dub there. Russell Wilson's first game as a Steeler. It was awesome to watch. Had some nostalgia seeing him throw some passes like that, getting on the run, just making great plays like he used to in Seattle. Not so much Denver. But I mean, the Pittsburgh Steelers are a good team. So I think they'll pretty much beat the Doonies out of the New York Giants here. Pittsburgh is 5-2 for a reason. The Giants are 2-5 for a reason. I do think the Giants will get something going in this game. They're probably going to figure out a little bit more offensively. And that defense is no joke. The defensive line is great. Linebacker and backfield for the New York Giants is not great in itself. But I still think they'll hold the Steelers to a certain amount of points, unlike the Jets did. We'll go ahead and see, but Russell Wilson maybe gets a wake-up call here. He had a great game 1. Let's see if he can keep it going on Monday Night Football. Prime time, so it's going to be something to watch. Alrighty, here at number 7, I'm going to have the Washington Commanders. They beat the heck out of the Panthers here, 40-7. It was just a throwaway game. I mean, Jaden Daniels only played the first drive, and then he got hurt. So rib injury sucks. I have him on 2 fantasies, and I need him to come back soon, so that way I can keep up my winning streaks in those. But Marcus Mariota, not too bad, man. You came back. You finally made a difference on the team. Last year was Atlanta, and it was not pretty. Or not last year, but a few years back, it was Atlanta. Right now in the Washington Commanders, with Mariota under center, I think he's pretty equal to what Jaden Daniels is, just not as good and not as accurate, but he's going to get the job done. So right now, this week, they're going to go against the Chicago Bears. It's going to be a tough one, in my opinion. We'll see what happens there. I think this is another game that's going to be a toss-up. Washington has a lot of talent on this team, mostly on the offensive side, but the defense has a little bit sprinkled here and there. And the Bears are kind of stacked on both sides, but still figuring out who they are as a team on offense. Defense, they've got it figured out. So it's going to be tough for Marcus Mariota to score here, but I think this game is going to be tough in general for both sides. Just have a feeling. I think this one's going to go down to the wire. It's in the 3:25 slot time for Sunday. I'm going to be watching this game on the split screen. Alrighty, here at number 6, I'm going to have the Buffalo Bills. They had a good game this past week, just like the Washington Commanders right before them. They beat the Titans 34-10. Wow. Didn't really watch that game. I didn't think it was going to be a good game to watch, in my opinion. So I kind of stayed away from it. But the Bills look good. They're looking better and better each week. Of course, this was the Titans. Sorry, Rave. But the Titans are not playing their best football, and they don't have a lot of talent on their team. They just traded away two guys to the Seahawks and to the Kansas City Chiefs. So it is what it is. The Bills are getting better and better with Amari Cooper there. He only played like what 35% of the snaps there. I mean, I'm looking around because that's freaking crazy. I mean, he got 14, 15 points off of 30% of the snaps. Wait until this guy is there with 70% of the time, 80% of the time, up to 100% of the time. He's going to be going off for the Bills. He is their wide receiver one, in my opinion. And that's just how it's going to shake out for the Bills. They are wanting to still be a pass heavy team, but Keon Coleman was not that guy in the draft for them. He is more of a wide receiver 2 or a slot guy for them. So now that they have Amari Cooper, this benefits everybody, including Keon Coleman. So it's going to be a tough matchup against the Seahawks, but I think right now they have the upper hand with us having DK Metcalf out. Cook had a great game. Josh Allen had a great game. They're going in with some momentum here, but it's in Seattle. That is going to be to our benefit. We'll see if the Bills can come out on top or if it's my Seahawks. Alrighty, at number 5, I'm going to have the Green Bay Packers. Sorry, Reed. I don't think that the win that you had against the Texans deserved a move up. The top 4 teams in front of you just deserve to be there. I think you'll find some solace in this and some sense that I still have the Packers here at 5. But top 5 is not bad, man. They went ahead and beat the Texans 24-22. They move up to being 5-2 themselves as well. Would you rather them be at 5, Reed, or would you rather them be at 10 like the Texans? So let me know in the comments. But Packers are playing great ball. Offensively, I still think there's a lot of stuff that Love can do to be better, to make this team a championship caliber team, in my opinion. Everything is there. I mean, except the wide receiver core, of course. But he does what he has there. He does with what's due. So I think the Packers and their defense are holding it down majority of the time. The offense gets points on the board, and they keep games with these tight matchups close, and they usually come out on top, as they are 5-2. Next week, though, they have the Jaguars. If this is a close game, I don't know, Reed. I think the Green Bay Packers might fall at the top 5. They need to beat the heck out of the Jaguars to make the statement to stay in the top 5 or move up in the top 5. Because right now, the Jaguars are 2-5, and if the Green Bay Packers lose to the Jaguars, Reed, oh my goodness, I would be totally shocked. We'll see though. I think the Green Bay Packers should have this dub in the bag. I don't see it any other way, but we'll see what happens. Here at number 4, Reed's arch nemesis, Minnesota Vikings. I think after that loss to the Lions, the number 1 team in my opinion, spoiler alert, they lost 29-31, 2-point game, basically how the Green Bay Packers and Texans was. But as I said, the Lions are my number 1 team in the NFL at this time. AFC, NFC, I don't care. The Lions are the number 1 team. They are, 5-1, but I still think they're the best team. 1 loss is all right. The Kansas City Chiefs are going to lose at some point in time. So, getting back to the Vikings, they didn't play their best game. Of course, I think it was a great game against a great defense, a great offense in the Lions, and it was down to the wire like I expected. It said that this was possibly going to be the game of the year. I think that they could still do better. I think they could score more. There could be more defensive plays. And don't get me wrong, there was a lot of picks. There was a lot of, great offensive plays as well. But I still think the Vikings can play better. I think this was a so off game for them, but they still played good. So that's why they are still in front of the Packers for me. Of course, record-wise, they're 5-1. So better than the Green Bay Packers, but I still think they are slightly better than the Green Bay Packers too. And we'll see because their matchup should be coming up soon. I believe it's in the next 2 to 3 weeks. But for now, they're going against the LA Rams. I think they will win this game, even with Cooper Kupp back. If Puka was there, maybe it would be a closer game because Kyren Williams, Puka, and Cooper Kupp would be an insane trio to go against this Vikings offense and defense. But for now, I still think Minnesota Vikings have the chip on their shoulder. A loss to the Lions is really going to invigorate them, and they're going to want to go into LA and destroy the Rams. So I think that's pretty much just what's going to happen on Thursday Night Football tonight. At number 3, I have the Baltimore Ravens. I mean, They won, man, 41-31 against the Bucks. Of course, injuries happened, but they were already winning by a bunch of points before those injuries happened, before the Buccaneers even had a chance to come back. Yes, they botched the onside kick. It's the second onside kick for the NFL in its entirety with these new kickoff rules. But again, I think they did take the foot off the pedal there. Horrible, horrible by Flowers there to even give them a chance and lead to the injuries of Chris Godwin. Now, it's not his fault, but the universe could have been totally different if Flowers could have, caught that ball on the onside kick. But we won't get into that, into the multiverse or anything like that. The Ravens are going to play the Browns. Now, this is a divisional rivalry game, whatever you want to call it. I think right here, the Browns are going to have a good game, but the Ravens are going to have an even better game. The Browns' defense is decent, but so is the Ravens' defense. And their offense is way better than the Browns right now. Jameis Winston's going to come in. He's going to play well. Chubb is going to come in. He's going to play well. But this Ravens team is just way better. I mean, 5-2 Ravens versus the 1-6 Cleveland Browns. I think we know what's going to happen. All right, and number 2 here, you guessed it, Kansas City Chiefs. They are 6-0, yes, but I still think the Lions are better. So again, with the spoiler alerts, if you skipped ahead and you missed where I said the Lions were my number 1 team in the NFL, Kansas City is number 2 for sure, and it's very close. But this next week, if the Lions win and the Kansas City Chiefs win, we'll see what happens. But Kansas City did beat the 49ers 28-18 to move themselves up to 6-0. My question is, are the Chiefs and Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Spagnuolo, because I got to give him credit. That defense is amazing. Are they unstoppable? Are they unbeatable? I don't think so. We've seen it in the past where it happens with the Raiders beating them, and that's who they have this week. So the Raiders are 2-5, Chiefs are 6-0. This is in Las Vegas. Could the Raiders pull off the craziest win? I don't know. We'll see. But as of right now, I think the Chiefs are going to go in here, get a win. But there's the off chance that the Raiders, pull a fast one on them. Again, it's happened, I think, at least 2 times out of the past 3 years where the Raiders are not supposed to beat the Chiefs, and they do. So we'll see what happens. I think this one, Chiefs got it in the bag. I don't think this is one of the years where the Raiders possibly pull a fast one, because who are they going to do it with? Just by himself, Madison and Bowers? I don't think so. We'll see what happens. And finally, at number 1, all the spoilers are finally over. It is the Detroit Lions. I think they have the best team right now. They took down the Vikings 31-29. I think that says it in itself. They've played some very, very tough teams this year. I mean, the Seahawks, I'm just going to say that because they're my Seahawks. They won against the Seahawks. They won against Dallas and clobbered them. They won against the Rams. They won against Arizona. Basically, they've pretty much swept the NFC West. And the NFC West is a pretty tough amount of teams. Maybe not this year, but again, beating the Vikings this past week was the cherry on top. That's why they are going to remain at number 1 for me, like I had them ranked last week. I think they're just the best team right now. Offensively, defensively, even without Aiden Hutchinson, I think they're holding it down. And I think they will next week too against the Tennessee Titans. 5-1 Detroit versus the 1-5 Tennessee Titans. I don't see this in very many universes in the multiverse where Tennessee will come up with a win. So Detroit will most likely go to 6-1 here, going into next week, looking nice and pretty before they face off the Green Bay Packers. That's going to be their second real test here. Another divisional rivalry game. It's going to be great as long as the Detroit Lions can stay healthy and keep everybody on the offensive side on the field. I think the Green Bay Packers are going to really have a fight on their hands here. This will basically be for who's going to be first, second, or third in the division here, because all these matchups for the Vikings, Green Bay Packers, and Detroit Lions is just neck and neck. It's going to come down to divisional wins. I'm 100% sure about that. These 3 teams are just 3 of the best teams in the league right now, and that's why they have all 3 of them in the top 5. But that's going to be it for my rankings, guys. Let me know down in the comments what you think. Am I crazy? Am I correct with all these things? Am I the greatest? So let me know. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and go ahead and hit the link down in the Discord below. Join us and talk about football, talk about these power rankings, talk about fantasy, and of course, talk about life with us. We love it when you guys interact with us. So come on in, join the NSP family. We'd love to get to know you. We'd love for y'all to come get to know us and just interact with us. So hope you like this video. Let me know down in the comments. Other than that, guys, as we always say, keep on grinding.